The first-class cabin hummed with quiet luxury. Soft lighting reflected off polished wood panels. Ice clinked against crystal glasses. Maya Chen sat in seat 2A, her small frame nearly swallowed by the leather chair. Her emerald green dress was clean but simple, stitched by hand. The worn canvas backpack at her feet looked out of place among designer luggage. 2 flight attendants stood near the galley, their whispers carrying. "Did you see her?" one said, not quite quiet enough. The other nodded, eyebrows raised. Maya's fingers traced the backpack's frayed strap. Her mother had carried this bag through nursing school, through late shifts, through everything. Now it was hers. A flight attendant approached, smile bright and cold. Her name tag read Victoria. "Sweetheart, are you lost?" Maya looked up. "No, ma'am." "This is my seat." Victoria's smile tightened. "First class is quite expensive. Are you sure you're not looking for the back of the plane?" Her voice dripped with false sweetness, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. An older woman in 3B glanced over, curiosity sharpening her gaze. Maya's throat went dry. "My ticket says 2A. Does it now?" Victoria's tone shifted, amusement threading through each word. She leaned closer, perfume overwhelming. "Why don't we double-check that, Where are you from? Drop your country in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories." 2 days earlier, Maya had stood in her father's home office, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Marcus Chen knelt before her, adjusting the straps on the old backpack. "You sure about this, sweetheart?" His voice carried concern wrapped in trust. Maya nodded. "Mom needs to see me. I can do this." Marcus smiled, pride and worry mixing in his dark eyes. "You're 8 years old and braver than most adults I know." He tapped the backpack. "Your mother carried this through college. Now it's yours." The Chen home spoke of success earned through sacrifice, modern furniture mixed with photographs of humble beginnings, a tiny apartment, a food truck, late nights hunched over laptops. Marcus had built his tech company from nothing, never forgetting where he came from. He taught Maya that wealth was responsibility, not status. She attended public school, wore simple clothes, learned the value of every dollar. "Remember what we talked about," Marcus said, handing her the boarding pass. "People will judge, let them. Your character speaks louder than their assumptions." Maya had hugged him tight. "I'll make you proud. You already do." Now 3,000 feet above ground, those words echoed in her mind. Sarah Chen lay in a hospital bed in Boston, recovering from emergency surgery. The doctors said she was stable, but Maya needed to see her mother's smile, hear her voice. This flight was supposed to be an adventure, a test of independence her parents believed she could pass. Marcus had booked first class for comfort and safety. Attendants would watch over her, or so he thought. Maya's fingers found the small device in her backpack's side pocket, a digital recorder given to document her journey. She'd been recording voice notes for her mother since takeoff. It was still running. Victoria straightened, her expression shifting from false sweetness to theatrical concern. "Excuse me, everyone," she announced, voice projecting across the cabin. "We have a small situation here." Passengers turned. Conversations died. Maya's chest tightened. She fumbled for her boarding pass, hands trembling. The printed paper showed her name, seat assignment, and first-class designation clearly. Victoria took it, examining it like evidence at a crime scene. She held it up to the light, squinting. This is quite unusual." Another attendant approached, younger with nervous energy. Her name tag read Jessica. "What's wrong?" "This young lady says she belongs in first class," Victoria said, her tone suggesting impossibility. "Alone, no guardian. Rather convenient, wouldn't you say?" Jessica's eyes widened. "Should we check with the gate?" "Perhaps we should check economy," Victoria replied, smirking. "See if anyone's missing a child." Heat flooded Maya's face. The woman in 3B leaned forward, fascinated. A businessman across the aisle frowned, uncomfortable but silent. "My dad bought this ticket," Maya said, voice small but steady. "I'm flying to see my mom. She's in the hospital." Victoria's laugh was sharp, dismissive. "Oh, sweetheart, that's a creative story. But first-class tickets cost more than most people make in a week. Are you telling me your father just sent you off alone?" "He trusted me." "Oh," Victoria said, leaning down until they were eye level, "you found someone's boarding pass and thought you'd have a little adventure." "Children do that sometimes." Jessica shifted uncomfortably. "Victoria, maybe we should do our jobs," Victoria snapped. "Which means ensuring every passenger belongs where they're seated." She turned back to Maya. "What's your father's name?" "Marcus Chen." Victoria's eyebrows rose. "Chen. And what does Mr. Chen do?" "He runs a technology company." "I see." Victoria's smile turned pitying. "And this technology company, is it successful enough for first-class tickets?" The question hung in the air, barbed and cruel. Maya's hands clenched. "Yes." "Well, that's wonderful," Victoria said, straightening. "Then you won't mind if we verify this?" "Jessica, radio the captain. Let's see if we can contact this Marcus Chen and confirm his daughter is supposed to be in our cabin." Whispers rippled through first class. Maya felt every stare like a weight pressing down. Her simple dress suddenly felt like evidence against her. The worn backpack screamed out of place. Victoria crossed her arms, triumph gleaming in her eyes. "So until then, sweetheart, perhaps you'd be more comfortable in economy. With the other families." Maya's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing tears. Not here. Not in front of them. The cabin's luxury mocked her now. Soft leather seats might as well have been thorns. Crystal glasses clinked like laughter. Every polished surface reflected her inadequacy back at her. She thought of her mother lying in a hospital bed, waiting. Sarah had always taught her that kindness was stronger than cruelty, that dignity came from within. But right now dignity felt impossible. The businessman across the aisle finally spoke. "Perhaps we're making too much of this. She has a boarding pass." Victoria's smile never wavered. "Sir, we take security very seriously. I am sure you understand." He retreated into his newspaper, guilt flickering across his face before disappearing. Maya's fingers found her backpack again, grounding herself. She remembered the day her mother gave it to her, eyes tired but warm. "This carried me through the hardest times," Sarah had said. "Now it'll carry you." The recorder in the side pocket pressed against her palm through the fabric. Still running, still capturing every word, Maya's fear began to shift, hardening into something else. Her father's voice echoed in memory. "Never let anyone make you small. You know who you are." She did know. She was Marcus Chen's daughter. Sarah Chen's daughter. She belonged exactly where she sat. Maya looked up at Victoria, meeting her eyes directly. "I'd like to call my father now." Victoria laughed. "Oh, would you? And how exactly will that help?" "He'll explain." "I'm sure he will." Victoria's tone dripped condescension. "Unfortunately, we're at cruising altitude. Phone calls aren't—" "Wi-Fi calling works," Maya interrupted quietly. "Dad made sure I knew how. 15 years earlier, Marcus Chen had arrived in America with $300 and a computer science degree. His parents had sold everything for his plane ticket, betting their future on his potential. He'd worked 2 jobs while coding at night, slept 4 hours, ate ramen for months. His first apartment was a converted storage room with no windows. Sarah had been his English tutor at the community center, a teacher who saw potential where others saw another struggling immigrant. She'd corrected his grammar while he fixed her laptop. Love grew quietly between late-night study sessions and shared dreams. When Marcus launched his first app, it failed. The second one barely broke even. The third one, a security platform for small businesses, caught fire. Within 3 years, Chen Technologies became a multi-million-dollar company. But success never changed Marcus's core. He remembered every struggle, every closed door, every assumption made about him based on his accent or appearance. He built his company culture around one principle: judge people by their character, not their circumstances. When Maya was born, he and Sarah made a pact. Their daughter would know comfort, yes, but she'd also know humility. She'd understand that money was a tool, not an identity. Maya attended public school with children from every background. Her birthday parties were simple. Her allowance came with chores. She volunteered at food banks and animal shelters. The worn backpack wasn't poverty, it was purpose. A reminder that value came from the journey, not the trappings. Sarah had been visiting her sister in Boston when the appendicitis struck. Emergency surgery followed. She'd survived, the doctors assured them, but recovery would take time. Maya had begged to go. "I need to see her, Dad. I need her to know I'm okay." Marcus had hesitated. 8 years old, alone on a plane. But he saw Sarah's strength in his daughter's eyes, saw his own determination in her set jaw. "You can do this," he'd finally said. "I believe in you." He'd booked first class for safety, space, and attention from the crew. He'd called the airline personally, explaining the situation, ensuring they'd watch over his daughter. He trusted them. That trust was shattering at 30,000 feet. Victoria's confidence wavered slightly when Maya pulled out a smartphone. The device wasn't cheap. Newer model, protective case, everything a responsible parent would provide. "That's quite a phone for someone who supposedly doesn't belong here," Victoria muttered. But uncertainty crept into her voice. Maya ignored her, fingers moving with practiced ease. She scrolled to her favorites. Only 3 contacts existed: Mom, Dad, Emergency, and Aunt Lisa. The recorder in her backpack continued its silent documentation. Maya's voice notes had been running since boarding. Every announcement, every conversation, every cruel word Victoria had spoken. She thought about stopping the recording, then decided against it. Her father always said truth was the strongest defense. Maya noticed something else as she held the phone. Victoria's badge didn't just say Senior Attendant, it had a small pin beneath. Gold lettering, Diversity Training Graduate 2024, a memory surfaced. Her father at dinner last month talking about a new program. "We're partnering with airlines to improve treatment of passengers from all backgrounds." "It's important work," Maya's mother had smiled. "Will it actually change anything?" Marcus had shrugged. "Only if people remember what they learned." Looking at Victoria now, Maya understood. The training had been words on paper, checkboxes completed, certificates earned. But the prejudice underneath remained, festering and waiting. Jessica shifted uncomfortably nearby. "Victoria, maybe we should just let her make the call." "Fine," Victoria said, crossing her arms. "Let her call whoever she wants. When this turns out to be a misunderstanding, we'll handle it appropriately." The word appropriately carried weight, a threat wrapped in professionalism. Maya's thumb hovered over Dad, Emergency. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She'd never used this contact before. It was for real emergencies only. This qualified. She pressed the button. The phone rang once, twice. Then Marcus Chen's voice filled the cabin, warm and immediately concerned. "Maya, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Maya's voice cracked. "Dad, they don't believe I'm supposed to be here." Silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. When Marcus spoke again, his tone had shifted, still calm but with an edge that could cut steel. "Put me on speaker, Maya." She tapped the screen. Her father's voice filled the first-class cabin, clear and commanding. "This is Marcus Chen. To whom am I speaking?" Victoria's expression flickered between annoyance and uncertainty. She stepped closer, voice projecting with false professionalism. "Mr. Chen, this is Victoria Rodriguez, Senior Flight Attendant. We're simply following security protocols regarding your daughter's seating." "Security protocols," Marcus repeated slowly. "My daughter has a valid first-class ticket, correct?" "She does present a boarding pass, yes, but what?" The temperature in Marcus's voice dropped 10 degrees. Victoria's confidence resurged. She'd dealt with angry parents before. "Sir, with all respect, it's highly unusual for a child to travel first class unaccompanied." We're simply ensuring there hasn't been a mistake. I see. And you've expressed these concerns how exactly? Jessica glanced away, guilt written across her young face. Victoria smiled, playing to the listening passengers. We've been nothing but professional. We're trying to ensure your daughter's comfort and safety. Maya, Marcus said quietly. Tell me what happened. Everything. Maya's words tumbled out. The whispers, the public questioning, the suggestion she'd stolen the ticket, the mockery about her clothes and backpack. Her voice stayed steady, reporting facts like her father had taught her. The cabin went silent. Even the engine's hum seemed to fade. Mr. Chen, Victoria began, her smile tightening, children often misinterpret. They misinterpret being told they don't belong, being accused of theft, being humiliated in front of strangers. Marcus's voice remained level, which somehow made it more terrifying. Those sound quite clear to me. Victoria's face flushed. Sir, I assure you we were simply doing our jobs. Then you're remarkably bad at them. The businessman across the aisle coughed into his fist, hiding a reaction. The woman in 3B stopped pretending to read her magazine. I want the flight number, Marcus said. I want your employee ID, and I want the name of every crew member involved in this conversation. Victoria's smile finally crumbled. That's really not necessary. I'll determine what's necessary. Maya, stay on this call. Don't hang up no matter what happens. Understood? Yes, Dad. Good girl. Something rustled on his end, papers, keyboard clicks. Victoria Rodriguez, is it? Senior attendant with badge number. He paused. I'm looking at your employment record right now. Interesting. Victoria's face went pale. How do you know what my company does, Ms. Rodriguez? Silence. We provide security and database management systems for corporations. For airlines, another pause, deliberate and heavy, for your airline specifically. The first-class cabin held its breath. Victoria's hand moved to her throat, fingers finding the gold pin beneath her badge. Dad? Maya whispered. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. Marcus's voice softened for his daughter, then turned to ice for everyone else. Ms. Rodriguez, I'm currently looking at Flight 2847's passenger manifest. My daughter's ticket was purchased 4 days ago. First class, unaccompanied minor services included. I spoke with your customer service department personally. They confirmed the arrangements. Victoria's mouth opened, closed. No words came. I'm also looking at something else, Marcus continued. Your completion certificate for the Diversity and Inclusion Training Program. The one my company funded through a partnership grant. The one that specifically addresses assumptions based on passenger appearance and background. Jessica took a step back, distancing herself. You graduated that program 3 months ago with commendations, Marcus said, each word measured and precise. And yet here you are, treating my 8-year-old daughter like a criminal because she doesn't look wealthy enough for your taste. The woman in 3B had abandoned all pretense now, staring openly at Victoria. Victoria's voice shook. Mr. Chen, I apologize if there was a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. There's documentation. Maya, the recorder in your backpack, is it still running? Maya's hand found the device through the fabric. The red light glowed faintly. Yes? Good. Keep it running. Victoria's face drained completely of color. Recording. You can't, that's not... Actually, she can. Single-party consent state. She's documenting her own experience. Keys clicked on Marcus's end. I'm sending 3 emails right now. One to your CEO, David Martinez. We golf together monthly. One to my legal team. And one to the head of the inclusion program. Sir, please, I'm also conferencing in your captain. Flight 2847, Captain Morrison. He should be receiving an urgent communication right about now. As if summoned, the cockpit door opened. A pilot emerged, tablet in hand, his expression grave. He looked at Victoria, then at Maya, then at the phone on speaker. Please don't hang up this call, Maya, Marcus said again, his voice carrying through the cabin like a promise and a warning both. Your father's handling this. The phone stayed connected, an open line to justice. Victoria's hands trembled. Jessica had gone completely still, realizing too late that she'd stood beside the wrong person. Captain Morrison's voice cut through the tension. "Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Hayes, my office now." Victoria looked at Maya one last time. The triumph from minutes ago had evaporated, replaced by something close to panic. She'd judged a child by a worn backpack and simple dress. She'd performed cruelty for an audience. She'd forgotten that appearances deceive, that assumptions destroy, and that some 8-year-olds have fathers who move mountains. "Maya," Marcus said softly through the speaker, "everything's going to be okay. Stay right where you are. You belong exactly where you're sitting." The captain's expression hardened as he gestured toward the cockpit. Victoria and Jessica moved like prisoners walking toward sentencing. The cabin watched them go, whispers beginning to spread. Maya sat alone in 2A, phone pressed to her ear, her father's breathing steady on the other end. The worn backpack rested at her feet, her mother's strength, her father's love, her own courage, all woven into frayed canvas straps. The plane flew on through clouds thick as wool. Somewhere below, wheels were already turning. Somewhere ahead, consequences waited. The cockpit door closed with a heavy click. Maya sat alone in the sudden quiet, phone still pressed to her ear like a lifeline. Passengers avoided her eyes now. Guilt hung thick in the recycled air. They'd watched her humiliation in silence, complicit in their comfort. Now they pretended fascination with magazines, movies, anything but the small girl in the emerald green dress. "Dad?" Maya whispered. "Are you still there?" "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm not leaving." But his attention had fractured. She could hear him typing, speaking in low tones to someone else. The protective bubble of his voice had thinned, letting reality seep through the cracks. Maya pulled her mother's backpack into her lap, fingers tracing the worn fabric. Sarah had carried this through night shifts and double classes, through moments when giving up seemed easier than pushing forward. "Be brave when it's hard," her mother always said. That's when bravery actually counts. The cabin's luxury felt hollow now. Leather seats and champagne glasses couldn't erase what had happened. The stairs had branded her, marked her as someone who didn't belong, someone whose presence required explanation and proof. Maya closed her eyes. Exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. She was 8 years old and tired of being strong, but somewhere ahead her mother waited. Somewhere behind her father fought. And somewhere inside, Maya found a small flame still burning, flickering but refusing to die. She touched the recorder in her backpack. Still running, still capturing truth. Marcus Chen's voice sharpened through the phone speaker. "Maya, I'm making some calls now. Keep the line open, but you don't need to listen to everything. Put in your earbuds if you have them." She did, connecting them so his voice became private again. Then she listened as her father became someone different. Not the gentle dad who made pancakes on Sundays, but the CEO who'd built empires from code and determination. The first call was brief and devastating. "David? Marcus Chen. We have a situation on Flight 2847. My daughter's been discriminated against by your senior crew." "Yes, I'll hold." Silence stretched. Then Marcus spoke again, words clipped and precise. "I don't accept apologies yet. I want action. Your attendant questioned my daughter's right to her seat based on her appearance. She was accused of theft, publicly humiliated. And David, she's 8 years old." Maya heard a muffled response from the other end. "No, I haven't forgotten the inclusion program partnership. That's exactly why this is unacceptable. Your employee graduated that training." She wore the completion pin, and she still treated my daughter like she didn't belong because of a worn backpack and simple clothes. More silence. Maya's heart hammered. "I want a full investigation. I want the recording my daughter made reviewed. And David, I want accountability, real consequences, not just another training session." Marcus paused. "Because if this is how your airline treats children when their fathers aren't powerful enough to make calls like this, We have a much bigger problem. The second call went to his legal team. Maya heard fragments, documentation, emotional distress, pattern of behavior, public record. The third call made her breath catch. Marcus's voice softened slightly, but the steel remained underneath. Margaret? It's Marcus. I need you to review something. Remember that inclusion program we funded? We may have our first real test of its effectiveness. Margaret, Dr. Margaret Williams, the program director, responded with questions Maya couldn't hear. My daughter, Marcus said simply. Flying alone to see her mother in the hospital. Treated like a thief by a program graduate. Yes, I have documentation. A pause. No, Margaret, this isn't about my daughter specifically. It's about every child who flies without obvious wealth. Every passenger judged by appearance. Every person your program was supposed to protect. Maya heard the shift in his voice, from father to advocate. I want you on the next call with the airline executives. I want you to hear the recording, and I want you to decide if this program has any real value or if it's just expensive theater. Another pause. Yes, I'm angry, but I'm also right. You know I am. The captain emerged from the cockpit, his expression unreadable. He approached Maya's seat and she pulled out one earbud. Miss Chen, he said gently, I've been briefed on the situation. I want to apologize on behalf of the entire crew. It's okay, Maya whispered automatically. No, the captain said firmly. It's not okay, and we're going to make it right. The captain straightened, addressing the entire first-class cabin. His voice carried authority earned through decades in the cockpit. Ladies and gentlemen, I need your attention for a brief announcement. Conversations died. Passengers looked up from devices and magazines. Earlier in this flight, a passenger was treated inappropriately by members of my crew. That passenger is Miss Maya Chen, seated in 2A. He gestured toward her. I want to publicly apologize to Miss Chen and assure her that this airline takes such matters with utmost seriousness. Maya's face burned, but the captain's tone held no pity, only respect. Additionally, Miss Chen's father is currently on the line with our CEO. Mr. Chen, if you're willing, we'd like to conference you through the cabin speakers so all parties can hear the resolution directly. Marcus's voice came through, steady and clear. Captain Morrison, thank you. I appreciate your professionalism. Yes, let's proceed. A click. Then another voice joined, older, rougher with stress. This is David Martinez, CEO of Skyward Airlines. Mr. Chen, Captain Morrison. I've been reviewing the documentation you've sent. The cabin held its collective breath. I've listened to the recording made by Miss Chen. I've reviewed the flight manifest, the training records, and the specific language used by my senior attendant. David's voice hardened. What I heard is unacceptable. It violates every principle our company claims to uphold. Victoria's face appeared briefly in the galley entrance, pale as snow. Ms. Rodriguez, David continued, you're terminated effective immediately. Your behavior demonstrated prejudice, poor judgment, and a complete failure to apply the training you received with distinction. We cannot and will not tolerate discrimination in any form. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Victoria's hand flew to her mouth. Ms. Hayes, David went on, addressing Jessica. You participated in the questioning and failed to intervene when you clearly recognized inappropriate behavior. You're also terminated. Jessica's sob was audible from the galley. Captain Morrison will document this officially. You'll both be escorted upon landing, and your final paychecks will be processed within 72 hours. David paused. Mr. Chen, this doesn't fix what happened to your daughter, but I hope it demonstrates that we take your concerns seriously. Another voice joined the call, Margaret Williams, sharp and disappointed. Victoria, I reviewed your training evaluations. You scored highest in your group on the cultural sensitivity module. You wrote eloquently about checking assumptions and treating every passenger with dignity. Do you remember that? Silence from Victoria. What happened today wasn't a lapse in judgment. It was a choice. You chose to humiliate a child because she didn't match your image of wealth. You chose mockery over compassion, and you did it while wearing a pin that represented values you clearly never internalized. The woman in 3B finally spoke, her voice carrying shame. I watched it happen. I should have said something. The businessman across the aisle nodded slowly. We all should have. That's the real lesson here, Marcus said quietly. This isn't just about 2 attendants who lost their jobs. It's about a cabin full of adults who watched a child get mistreated and stayed silent. Because it was easier. Because it wasn't their problem. Because they assumed the crew knew best. His words landed like stones in still water, ripples spreading. Maya, Marcus continued, his voice gentling, I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You stayed calm, you stood your ground. You knew who you were even when others tried to make you small. That's real strength. Maya's vision blurred with tears. Not shame anymore, but something closer to release. I just want to see Mom. I know, baby. You will. Just a little longer now, David's voice returned. Miss Chen, when you land, you'll be greeted by our senior operations manager. She'll escort you personally to your connecting flight and ensure the rest of your journey is comfortable. We're also refunding your ticket and providing travel vouchers for your family. It's insufficient, I know, but it's a start. Thank you, Maya whispered. The captain placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You're welcome in our skies any time, Miss Chen. With or without fancy luggage, the plane landed in Chicago 40 minutes later. Maya had dozed fitfully, her father's voice still connected through her earbuds, a steady anchor in choppy water. True to David's word, a woman in a crisp navy suit waited at the gate. Her name tag read Patricia Owens, Senior Operations Manager. Her smile was warm, genuine, untainted by pity. Miss Chen, I'm here to escort you to your Boston connection. She offered her hand and Maya shook it. Your father told me about your mother. I hope she recovers quickly. They walked through O'Hare together, Patricia carrying herself with quiet dignity that never infantilized or fussed. She treated Maya like a person, not a problem to be managed. At the Boston gate, Patricia knelt to Maya's level. You handled yourself remarkably today. That courage will serve you well in life. I was scared, Maya admitted. Bravery and fear aren't opposites, honey. Bravery is being scared and doing it anyway. You did that. The Boston flight was gentle. A new crew, briefed but not intrusive, checked on her with genuine care. The attendant who brought her juice had kind eyes and asked about her mother without assuming anything about Maya's life. 3 hours later, Maya walked through Boston General Hospital's automatic doors. The worn backpack bounced against her shoulders. Her emerald green dress was wrinkled from travel. She looked exactly as she had that morning, but she felt different, harder in some ways, stronger in others. Sarah Chen's room was on the 4th floor. Maya pushed open the door to find her mother propped against pillows, face pale but smiling. Baby, Sarah breathed, arms opening. Maya ran to her, and the tears finally came. Days of holding together dissolving into her mother's embrace. The backpack slipped to the floor between them. I carried it just like you, Maya sobbed. I carried it through everything. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair, not yet knowing the full story but feeling its weight. You're here. That's all that matters. You made it. Marcus arrived that evening, having caught the next available flight. He held both his girls close, the hospital room small but sufficient for the love it contained. Later, when Maya told the story, every detail, every moment, Sarah's face hardened with protective fury and swelled with pride in equal measure. They lost their jobs? Sarah asked quietly. Marcus nodded. And the airlines reviewing every discrimination complaint from the past 5 years. Real accountability this time. Sarah looked at her daughter. How do you feel about it? Maya considered this. I feel like I learned something. That speaking up matters, that truth wins. that who I am is enough even if others don't see it right away. The worn backpack sat in the corner, a silent witness. It had carried Sarah through poverty into purpose. Now it had carried Maya through injustice into strength. Some legacies couldn't be bought, only earned. 3 months later, Maya flew again. Same airline, different crew. She wore the same emerald green dress because she liked it, not because she had to prove anything. The backpack rested at her feet in seat 2A, worn, frayed, perfect. The flight attendant who greeted her was new, young, nervous. She smiled at Maya with genuine warmth. "Welcome aboard. Is this your first time flying first class?" Maya recognized the question's intent, friendly conversation, not judgment. "No," she said simply. "I've flown before." The attendant nodded. "Well, let me know if you need anything." That was all. No assumptions, no mockery, just service and respect. Maya looked out the window as the plane climbed through clouds. She thought about Victoria, wondered if the woman had learned anything. She thought about Jessica, who'd sent a handwritten apology letter through the airline's legal department. She thought about the businessman and the woman in 3B and all the passengers who'd stayed silent. She hoped they spoke up the next time. She hoped they remembered, but mostly Maya thought about her mother's words. Character isn't tested when life is easy. It's tested when everything goes wrong and you still choose kindness over bitterness. Maya had been tested. She'd been afraid, humiliated, judged. But she hadn't let cruelty change who she was at her core. The backpack at her feet held her mother's old nursing textbooks now. Maya had asked for them specifically. She was 8 years old and already knew what she wanted to be when she grew up. Someone who helped people, who saw past appearances, who treated everyone with dignity regardless of what they carried or wore. Some lessons were taught in classrooms. Others were learned at 30,000 feet in the hardest way possible. The plane soared higher. Below, the world looked small and neat, divisions invisible from this height. Maya closed her eyes and smiled, because she knew something now that she'd carry forever. Wealth is measured not in money or status, but in who you become when everything is stripped away except your character, and hers had proven unbreakable.